Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be indulging in a little thing of a Beyblade X remake tier list. Not necessarily for which one is the coolest or which one is the most faithful to the original, because, I mean, Lord knows it's these guys. But it's more so a competitive tier list, if any of them have competitive value at all, which, if you know Beyblade and its history with remakes, not so much. I'll also be doing a tier list on these. Can't be doing the drawn sword one, though, mostly because it's, well, literally just the same as the drawn sword prior launcher, just with golden text, so, yeah. But let's get to it. Coming in at a firm dead last, ninth place is Dragoon S. Despite being one of my personal favorites, this thing for competitive value utterly sucks. Because, well, while these two are both great parts, Taper has incredibly good burst resistance and is overall a great balance bit, and 380 is, well, good for multiple uses, well, really anything except low-sitting attack combos. Dragoon S, like most of the remakes we will see, is incredibly light. It also has a imbalance that I can't really point out on this thing because I can't actually see where it is, but still, it is super light, has an incredibly nerfed shape, as with all of the Baka 10 releases, and it's just not all that great. A little scratch there. Damn. Coming in at number 8 is Drago S. Now, this one is a similar case to Dronzer, except it has a slightly better balance bit, a slightly worse ratchet, because it's easier to burst, as most even-sided ratchets are, but the blade is about equal in terms of competitive. If I just grab Dronzer here, if you look at the edges, well, relatively speaking, they're basically the same, just in the opposite direction, so overall you could pick either one over the other. It's just that it happens to have point instead of taper, so... Coming in at an unfortunate 7th place is Dragoon S. Now, this one pains me a lot, because it doesn't seem to have the same imbalance problem that the last two did, and has a slightly better shape, but it's just as light, though it does sit a lot lower thanks to 460, so it's arguably harder to burst. But rubber excels what brings it down drastically, because it has a lot of niche use for things like knockback resistance, but the problem is stamina. You get 1 or 2 extreme dashes out of this thing, and that is the best you're going to get. And again, like all the Baka 10 releases, it was severely nerfed from its original shape. So, yeah, it just... Ugh. Coming in at 6th place, we have Storm Pegasus. Now, where this one gets a major leg up is the fact that it's heavier, which is inevitably going to help, and the contact points are a lot better, despite the storm wheel it's based off of just not being all that great. 370 is a pretty solid attack ratchet for medium height builds, and Rubber Excel, well, we already covered it with Dragoon S, same deal. So, yeah, it does have a slight imbalance, though, if I can just get it to focus here. And I found that this is actually, ironically, somewhat, consistent with what the original Storm Wheel was, because the Storm Wheel I have on my Storm Pegasus actually has a similar imbalance, albeit there it doesn't do nearly as much. So, yeah, still not all that great, but pretty hard to burst. And for 5th and 4th place, we have a tie between Rock Leone and Drago S. Now, this one was incredibly tough to decide, because Drago S is easier to burst, but I'd actually wager that it has a lot of surprising use. I mean, weight-wise, they're both not all that great, but Drago is, I believe, the heaviest of the Baka 10 bays, whilst Rock Leone is either the second heaviest or the heaviest of the Metal Fight, well, remakes we've gotten so far. Now, comparing them side by side, shape-wise, I've actually gotten some solid use out of this as a ramp to block off attack types, and Rock Leone is more so good for counter defense. I don't know if that makes any sense, but then comparing the ratchets, 680 is harder to burst, but 760 is heavier, and I believe provides better defense. Comparing their bits side by side, Gear Needle to Dot is a bit of an odd comparison because of the fact that they are almost entirely different in what they're supposed to do. Gear Needle is meant to be like a more aggressive defender, whilst Dot is more so that dig into the stadium as hard as you can. So while you could interchange these two, I believe that putting them as a draw is the best solution. Also, surprisingly, Only Metal Fight Bay to not have an imbalance. Props. And next up on the competitive zeitgeist in third place is the undisputed GOAT of Beyblade, Lightning El Drago. It comes in two modes, Barrage or Upper, though competitive tournaments consider them the same blade. I only have the Upper version right now. And this one was, well, competitively, a lot of people expected it to be good. It wound up being okay at best. So, starting off with El Drago, it is one of the few left spin blades. It has a drastic imbalance, which makes it pretty hard to control. 160 is a solid attack. Actually, no, it's a really good attack ratchet. The problem is that it makes this thing jump around like it's on cocaine. Flat is your just standard pretty good bit. It's not overly great, but at the same time, it could be a lot worse. And again, the thing that just drags El Drago down is the lack of control, and the fact that it is just way too light to be used properly for most competitive scenes. And in second place, we have Zeno Excalibur. Now, deciding between first and second was tough, mostly because of just how you could argue either one. Zeno Excalibur has a surprisingly well-rounded build. You have Gear Flat, which is a really, really strong attack bit, but also a little hard to control if you launch too hard. I've actually sent this thing out of the stadium on accident. 360 is your standard attack ratchet. Really good. Lines up with the sword on the blade. And Zeno Excalibur, while not an overly heavy blade, by remake standards, it's pretty high up there, and the shape is, well, nerfed from the burst days, but it is still pretty solid for attack use, so you could get a lot of out of this relative to most of the other remakes. But number one goes to the Wonder Boy Victory Valkyrie. Oh my god, this thing looks beautiful. Even when scratched up, I wish they could have done more for this. So, Victory Valkyrie is the best remake blade, bar none. It is easily the heaviest one. It has the best shape out of them all, even though they tried to nerf it as best they can by having the boost disc be more exposed. And the gap on this thing is absolutely criminal, though. 260 is, well, good for attack, but the problem is that it just bursts so easily, which makes sense considering the system it's used for. And then you have Rubber Excel, which, again, as I've said before, you can get use out of it, but it's not great. But this has so much weight to it. So when I said these two can be interchanged, what I meant by that is this one is a lot more well-rounded for stock combo, while this one is more so this carries so much weight that it's basically equivalent to this, if not better. Though it is still easier to burst, so I could see this one being first, with this one being second, but imagine if you, like, took the ratchet and bit and put it on Victory Valkyrie, it'd be infinitely better than if you put these on here. So, and now as for the remade launchers, I'm going to be honest, these two are, well, a firm dead last, mostly because as cool as they are, and as great as it is to have both of them in Beyblade X, they're really just recolored / retextured, because they actually feel different, retextured versions of the Phoenix Wing launcher. And they don't really do anything that hasn't already done. Most string launchers in Beyblade X are all basically used for the same thing. And then in second place we have the Dragoon S launcher, which, as cool as this thing is, and as cool as the ripcord is, it is incredibly flimsy. Albeit they did do well by sticking to the winder design and making it longer than the regular one. Plus, this was our first, I believe, it was our first or second left spin winder launcher for Beyblade X, so that's always good. But, of course, the coup de grace is the Beyblade X hold launcher that came with Zeno Excalibur. It is just a recolored hold launcher, but this thing gets you so much use. It feels amazing in the hand. It just looks great, and has an insanely long ripcord. And while I do wish it was yellow, you could just replace it with the winder launcher, the winder from Scorpio Spear. God, I can't talk today. So, all in all, yeah, that's the tier list. Well, tier list, I don't have the modeling yet. But, yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this, and yeah, peace out. Have a wonderful day.